Okay. The meeting of the Planning, Zoning, and Historical Committee comes to order. I'm going to read through what is potentially on the consent agenda. As always, please let me know if you have any items that you want me to remove from the consent. RS 2019-1801 by Bircher, Bedney, and O'Connell. It approves a participation agreement between the Metro Department of Public Works, the City of Ridgetop, and the Robertson County Highway Department for the pavement of Greer Road. There is a letter to approve. RS 2019-1802 by Swope, Freeman, and others. It authorizes the acquisition and removal of 45 flood-prone properties in the 7 Mile Creek watershed. Resolution RS 2019-1804 by Council Members Van Rees, Bircher, and others. We have a letter to approve. It authorizes the Director of Public Property to exercise an option agreements for the purchase of various flood-prone properties for Metro Water Services. RS 2019-1805 by Bircher and Bednet. It authorizes the Director of Public Property to accept easements for public right-of-way in connection to the development of the River North project. And now we go to second reading. BL 2018-1363 by Hueso and Glover. We're going to remove this from the consent agenda. BL 2019-1708 by Bircher, Bedney, and others. It grants a franchise to Zayo Group LLC to construct, operate, and maintain a telecommunications system within the Metro Nashville. We have a letter to approve. All right. BL 2019-1709 by Syracuse, O'Connell, and Bedney. It abandons a portion of Renee Drive right-of-way. BL 2019-1710 by Council Members Slade, O'Connell, and Bedney. It abandons a portion of Ali 1838 right-of-way. BL 2019-1711 by O'Connell and Bedney. It abandons a portion of Ash Grove Drive right-of-way. BL 2019-1712 by Council Members Allen, O'Connell, and Bedney. It abandons an existing sanitary sewer main, a sanitary sewer manhole, and easements, and to accept a new sanitary sewer main, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for 6 properties located on Compton Avenue, Belmont Boulevard, and Delmar Avenue. BL 2019-1713 by Council Members Hall, O'Connell, and Bedney. It approves the permanent and temporary easements for the West Hamilton Road Stormwater Improvement Project for 10 properties located along Home Haven Drive, Kings Lane, and Hallmark Road. BL 2019-1714 by Council Members Kendall, O'Connell, and Bedney. It abandons an existing public water mains and a fire hydrant assembly, and to accept a new public water main and fire hydrant assembly for a property located at 2501 Clifton Avenue, and we have a letter to approve. BL 2019-1715 by Council Members Haywood, O'Connell, and Bedney. It accepts a permanent and temporary easements for the Green Lane Stormwater Improvement Project for 5 properties located on Green Lane and White Creek Spike. BL 2019-1716 by Councilmembers Hastings, O'Connell, and Bedney. It abandons an existing sanitary sewer main, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements, and to accept a new sanitary sewer and water main, sanitary sewer manholes, a fire hydrant assembly, and easements for a property located at 926 West Trinity Lane. BL 2019-1717 by Council Members O'Connell and Bedney. It accepts a new water main, fire hydrant assembly, and sanitary sewer manholes for property located at 1500 Charlotte Avenue. Now we go to bills on third reading and public hearing. Bill 2019-1651 by Councilmembers Kendall and Roberts. It changes 0.18 acres from RS5 to SP zoning for property located at 2713 Torbett Street to permit up to 4 residential units, and we have a letter to approve. And those are the items on the consent agenda. Sorry? Sure. Okay, so you all heard the items on the consent agenda minus the one that were removed. Do we have a motion to approve? We have a motion. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? All right, so we are going to start going through the items. Before I move, I have to say I'm very thankful to the Water Department for taking care of these properties that are being removed, because that's going to help us with our stormwater issues. So we're moving in the right direction. The first item that is not on consent is a resolution, RS 2019-1800 by Council Members Bircher and others. It approves the purchase of a property in Bells Bend for use in Metro Government Park and Greenway system. There is a proposed amendment and a letter to approve. Councilmember Bircher is not here. Who else wants to carry this legislation? Councilmember Murphy.
I'm happy to sign on. Did you say we don't have a letter?
Yeah, we do have a letter.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, I'll move the legislation then.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Hall. Yes, sir.
So it was deferred yesterday in Budget and Finance
All right.
for one meeting.
Would you like to move to defer here as
I
well?
would like to move it, defer it for one meeting.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilmember Murphy.
My motion was for approval.
A deferral motion takes precedent.
Can Mr. Jamison, can you elaborate why it was deferred in budget?
There was a lengthy discussion with respect to consideration of an amendment offered by Councilman Mendez that would break the option down into two portions, approval of the option and then approval of the execution of the option. And that would require the current closing date of July 31st to also be postponed, and it was proposed that it be till December 31st. There was then some discussion about, by virtue of the fact that the property is within Councilman Hall's district exclusively, would he have the option under Rule 8 to defer, should he exercise that right? And then a motion to defer was made and approved by Budget and Finance Committee.
So I have a question for you. We have a proposed amendment. Do we need to move the amendment or just defer it?
The amendment was not moved at Budget and Finance, and the sponsor of the amendment was agreeable to it being introduced at a later date.
Okay. Does anybody have any more questions? Yes, ma'am.
For clarification, we've not put the amendment on in planning, is that correct?
That's
But they
correct.
put it on in budget? No, they have not.
They did not. Councilman
Okay.
Mendez was comfortable with not offering it until a later date.
Okay. Call for the question on deferral on the bill.
So she's called for the previous question. We'll say all in favor of the previous question.
All in favor of the previous question, say aye. Aye? I didn't hear. Okay, thank you. So,
They're now on the deferral motion.
yes, so we have a motion by Councilmember Hall and a second. Any more discussion on the subject? No? All in favor say aye. Oppose? So we defer it for 1 minute.
Correct.
Thank you all. Thank you, Councilor Murphy. All right. The next item that is not on consent is BL 2019-1645 by Mendez, Cooper, and others. It approves an amendment to the Arts Center redevelopment, the Bordeaux redevelopment, the Casey Place redevelopment, the Central State redevelopment, the Jefferson Street redevelopment, the Philip Jackson redevelopment plan, the Rutledge Hill redevelopment, and the Skyland redevelopment plans.
It was deferred at budget.
Yeah, there is here a letter to defer one meeting. Who wants to make a motion to defer one meeting? Councilmember Wieters made a motion to defer for one meeting. Is there a second? There is a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Oppose? Thank you very much. Next item is BL 2018-1363 by Councilmember Hueso and Glover. It changes 5.15 acres from RS10 to SP zoning for property located at 940, 944 Curry Road and Curry Road and number to permit 24 multifamily residential units. Councilmember Syracuse, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
It's not before the
Councilmember Glover invoked Rule 24, which 2 weeks ago we indefinitely deferred this. The purpose being is that there were plenty of constituents in the 13th district that did not feel like their voices were being heard, and there was not sufficient community meetings. So we all agreed in this committee and on the floor to indefinitely defer this until a new 13th district council member was there, at which time.
Can you please stop for a minute? I want to make sure I'm doing this right. Hold on a second.
So it's accidentally on the agenda. It's been put back on the agenda just so Glover and Syracuse can have the reinstatement debate. So the committee doesn't need to weigh in on it yet, only if it's reinstated. So I'm going to let him finish.
Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Syracuse.
My motion is to indefinitely defer. Sorry.
So, Councilman Syracuse, this was, as you noted, restored onto the agenda per the request from Councilman Glover for a reinstatement hearing. And so there's no committee consideration. It's accidentally on the committee agenda, but there's no committee recommendation required at this time.
It's my mistake. I shouldn't have asked you to speak. Thank you, Councilman Syracuse. We'll discuss it at the floor. Thank you very much. All right. So we'll move on to the next item, and that is BL 2019-1708 by Council Members Bircher, Bedney, and others. And this is the item that Councilmember Mina Johnson asked to pull out. It grants a franchise to Seyo Group LLC to construct, operate, and maintain a telecommunication system within Metro Nashville. Councilmember, can I get the floor to Councilmember Johnson first, being that she pulled it out? Where are you? There you go.
Thank you, Chair. I think majority of the question for me will be answered at the Public Works Committee, but as far as planning committee's purpose, what should we consider of this type of, agreement? What's our consideration? What's the base of consideration, approve or not approve?
Is that a question for Mr. Jameson?
That's a question to Mr. Jameson, or our planning chair.
So just based on conversations at yesterday's Budget and Finance Committee, I would distinguish a telecommunications franchise provision in the code, which has been on the books for 20-plus years, from the small cell debate that came before this council early in its term and received some legislation at the council. This is not the sort of franchise that's going to result in additional poles or additional infrastructure within the right-of-way, with the exception of some attachments to the poles themselves that allow the telecommunications facilities to go forward. Beyond that, what is a typical takeaway from Metro is that 5% of their revenues, here estimated, I believe it's at $16,000 per year, comes back to Metro in exchange for our anticipated costs for the right-of-way maintenance around these items that will again appear on already existing poles, but not new poles. There is an effort by Public Works to determine the future costs of managing and maintaining the right-of-way, and some questions were asked with respect to whether or not the anticipated funds, $16,000, was going to be appropriate with respect to that future study. I don't have those answers, and I believe the administration is planning on having representation at the Public Works Committee to answer those questions.
Thank you. So I will ask a detailed question at the Public Works. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Lady Allen. Do you still want to? All right. Well, thank you very much. So who wants to make a motion to approve? We did already, right? Yes. I'm sorry, I'm brain dead. We have a motion to approve, and do we have a second? Second. You second your own motion? We have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Oppose? So my air conditioner in my car is dead, so I'm really exhausted. So I apologize if I am a little bit loopy. It's not a good time of the year to drive around without air conditioner, so. Not that it matters, but I just wanted to apologize for my loopiness. The next item not on consent is BL 2019-1651 by Councilmember Kendall and Roberts. It changes 0.18 acres from RS5 to SP zoning for property located as 2713 Torbett Street to permit up to 4 residential units. And I think Council Lady Mina Johnson has to be pulled out. So you have the floor, Council Lady Johnson.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure this one is Councilman Kendall changing SP just to usage, banning short-term rental. Is this the one?
That's correct.
Okay.
And his intention tonight will be to defer this so that there's sufficient notice period until the August 6th public hearing night.
So if that's the case, can we defer our consideration to accordingly to the next meeting? Because it would be appropriate to hear from the public and then we debate on our recommendation.
You could do that. We're checking to see if we have a letter from Councilman Kendall.
We have a letter from Councilman Kendall.
And what is he asking?
Well, we have a note here that says there is a letter to approve, but I don't have a letter. Hold on, let me double check here. Give me a second, please. 1651. We don't.
All right.
We're going to move this one to the hill and then go on to the next one, okay? If that's okay with the committee. The next item is BL 2019-1537 by Councilmember Scott Davis. It was disapproved by the Planning Commission 7-0. It changes 0.18 acres from RS5 to R6 zoning for property located at 327 Gatewood Avenue. Councilmember Scott Davis.
Let's see. I'd like to defer to the August 2nd meeting, please.
We have a motion to defer. Is there a second?
I'm sorry, the August 6th meeting. I apologize.
Okay, August 6th. So we have a motion to defer to the August 6th meeting, and we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Oppose? All right, it's deferred. Thank you, Council Member. And the next item is BL 2019-1569 by Councilmember Scott Davis. It changes 2.3 acres from RS5 to SP zoning for a property located at 1806 Lishi Avenue. And it's not on consent that there is a proposed amendment and substitute. Councilmember Davis, you have the floor.
Yes. Thank you very much. I'd like to move the substitute, please, Mr. President.
We have a motion to move the substitute.
It's already been substituted. It's already been substituted. 1569?
1569 has been.
It's already been substituted. It's going to be on the June 18th Planning Commission meeting. I'm sorry, apologies. the July 18th Planning Commission meeting.
Okay.
And I'm fine with it being referred back to this committee too, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
After the July 18th commission meeting.
All right, so what do you want to do? You want to move the legislation as amended?
Yeah, I'd like to move the legislation as amended just so that we can get a look at it and so people can have it before the planning commission meeting.
All right, so we have a motion. Is there a second? There is a second. Any discussion? The motion is to approve as amended, and I think as substituted.
Substituted.
And it is BL 2019-1569, and that's the motion that the council member is doing. You want to clarify your motion? Repeat it. I don't want to put words on your mouth.
Yeah, basically,
Just the motion.
motion to approve the substitute and after the planning commission have it re-referred back to this committee. I can do that, can I? I think I can.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the motion, sir.
Yes, Councilor Eddie Murphy.
So my thought process here is that it hasn't, so Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. This has not been to the Planning Commission yet, but we're going to approve it and then re-refer it back here after planning. I think it'd be much cleaner if we just deferred it rather than taking action on something to just simply re-refer it back to us. Why don't we wait till we get the Planning Commission results?
Here's my understanding. I'm going to defer to Ms. Milligan if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that it had gone back to planning and they deferred it just Thursday. And that rule that gives planning 30 days to act on it, or else this council can move on it. So my understanding from what Councilman Davis is saying, and my understanding of what the applicant has agreed to, is the substitute, which was approved here back May 21st, it was sent back to planning. It's been 30 days, but everyone is in agreement to having it go to the Planning Commission on July 18th. So the committee can do as it seems fit, but it might be, if I understood Councilman Davis's motion, a motion to approve but re-refer to this committee is one
Yeah.
option, or you could defer.
I think it's just a lot cleaner. If we're just going to re-refer it back to us, then that doesn't make sense that we would take am I correct, Mr. Jamieson, that we would not take another vote on it? Because if we're approving it tonight, then we don't take another vote next time, right?
Correct, it's third.
Because we would have to rescind our actions and all that jazz.
Right.
So I think it's a lot cleaner parliamentary procedure to simply defer tonight.
So Councilmember Scott Davis, you heard the comment. Do you want to change your motion or you want to stick to your motion? Sorry about that. Where are you? Sorry.
Paul, I'll speak after the gentleman from District 6 speaks.
All right. So
Or I can speak now. If you want me to go now.
the thing is, you made a motion and she made a suggestion.
I mean, we can vote on the motion. No one ever had a problem. In fact, with bills coming back to committees, I never had an issue. We always asked for that. And even though we're going through the right motions here, planning is taking a second look. We completed a substitute. We made some changes that everybody wanted. I don't see a reason. It's to me, it's kind of like, okay, you want me to keep referring back to committee, I'm fine with it. Now you don't want me to refer back to committee. Just make up. I mean, I'm fine with referring back to committees.
All right.
If Mr. Chair, if you don't want me to refer back to the committee, I will humbly follow your direction, sir.
So you made a motion, and Councilor Eddie Murphy made a suggestion that we change it. So you can either withdraw your motion and make a different motion, or we can go through an amendment, or we can continue the conversation. I just wanted to know what is that you wanted to do. But if you
I'll
want to
continue the conversation. It's
all
fine.
right. So Councilmember Brett Withers.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair, and thanks to all my colleagues. And I know I've been critical sometimes of the number of steps that bills have gone through, sometimes for District 5. So what I really want to ensure for this one, because this one did have a very large amount of public testimony at the public hearing that was held. There were concerns by adjacent homeowners. It's my understanding that for this one, some degree of work has gone on. I myself do not yet know what all that is. I'm curious to see that. I think that members of the public would also like to be able to look that up on the Metro Council's website. So the main thing that I'm interested in is that if we do have a substitute, that it be accessible when folks pull up the legislation on the Metro Council's website so that everyone is looking at the same thing. I just don't want to have confusion. And so that's what I'm wondering is if there's a way to have that substitute that is going to be considered be what is accessible, if there's a way to apply that without giving it a final approval today. Does that make sense to the planning staff?
I'm sorry. So where we are in the process was shortly before the Planning Commission meeting, at which time we were going to be considering the SP substitute that has already been approved by council. Shortly before, the owner of the property reached out to us with some additional potential changes that were hopefully in the pursuit of getting planning at a recommendation of approval. We had a limited amount of time, and so we asked if she would be agreeable to deferral to the July 18th meeting to allow us time to work through what could be some additional conditions, which may necessitate the need for a second substitute, which has not yet been drafted because we are still in those conversations with the applicant in preparation for the July 18th meeting.
Okay, before we go on, let's bring back Council Lady Murphy that had started her motion.
So,
Mr. Chair.
I think that,
Okay. I want to, she was speaking before, and I cut her off, and I asked him to speak, and then I let you speak, but she never finished speaking, so that's why I wanted to make sure that she was ready to let go, if that's okay with you, Council Lady Withers.
Council Lady Withers, absolutely. That is not an insult to me.
I
He-
told you
he
that
gets
I'm
to us.
having a hard time with, I'm overheating here.
so I think, again, I think what I just heard is the substitutes, it's not in our packet because it hasn't been done yet. That's accurate?
No, there is a substitute that you all have already adopted, which was basically like a skeleton substitute, which was drafted by council office that included some use restrictions and a minimum amount of conditions. What we're working through are maybe some additional conditions in regards to transition, access, form, that then we're trying to see if we can get to a place of an approval. And so there is a substitute, but a planning commission review may necessitate a second substitute in order to incorporate those conditions, but we're still in the process at this point of reviewing.
Okay, so I want to make sure that I've got this right. So I understand that the councilman from East Nashville would like us to approve and then re-refer, but as a member of this committee, I'm going to make the motion to defer this to the first meeting after the Planning Commission. I don't have the calendar in front of me, so August 6th. So I will make that motion to defer this to August 6th.
Okay, so your motion takes precedent, and so I heard that there is a second. Any discussion? We have a lot of people on the queue. Any of you want to talk about the motion to defer? Council Lady Mina Johnson? No? Okay. Do you? No? Okay.
Mr. Chair.
So yes, Council Member Withers. I'm really sorry.
That is quite all right. Since my mic is currently live, I'll go ahead and offer my comments, if that's okay. Based on the conversation we heard, I do think that it makes sense to go ahead and defer so that we are all looking at more or less a finished product. I think that does make sense under those. So under those circumstances, I'd be willing to support Councilmember Murphy's motion to defer with a re-referral back to this committee on August 6th. And I hope that my colleague is okay with that as well.
I just want to make sure of the timeline, okay?
Okay.
That if, I'm fine with this going back to this committee, but this substitute is already added, is that correct?
There is a substitute that has been
That
adopted,
is.
but that substitute did not include some of the conditions
Is
that
that
we
we're making
think
changes
that
now?
we may need in order
Gotcha.
to be able to get to approval, which is what we're working through with the owner. So there may need to be another substitute that we would send over following the Planning Commission review, depending on what happens there. I mean, we're just trying to continue to work through the process to see if we can get to a place
Then
of approval.
I'm fine with that as long as it stays on schedule. And, and I'm fine with, if my colleague would withdraw her motion, I will set the
I
motion
texted Rosie.
or whatever.
There
I'm
was
not-
in attached one. I don't know what that means.
I'm fine with, I'm fine as long as it's on the August 2nd public hearing. As long as it's back to August 2nd, I'm fine with it. 6,
All right.
I'm the
So
one.
Thank you, Councilmember, and thank you, Councilor Murphy, for your suggestion. So we have a motion and a second to defer. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Oppose? All right. So we only have one item left, and that is the BL 2019-1651. And we seem to have, we don't have the letter to approve. So does anybody wants to make a motion?
His intent to defer anyway to the August 6th meeting.
Okay, so here there is a motion to defer by rule. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. That's the end of the meeting. Thank you very much. I'm sorry for my, thank you all.